Aloha, everyone. Welcome to this Monday edition of Facebook Live. I am your co-host along with my colleague, Danny Gardner. Aloha, Danny.
Aloha.
And a former co-host, now colleague doing all kinds of amazing things, Christy Chadwick. Aloha, Chris.
Aloha. Hi.
Hey, it's so wonderful to share some time with you again. It's been a minute since we've done one of these Facebook Lives together.
It has. It's cool to be back in this kind of new shape, new form, new things happening.
Yeah, I didn't realize just how much HIAMFT has changed over the past few years until I recently got an email from Janet Covington, who was a longtime administrator for HIAMFT and all of its iterations prior to becoming HIAMFT, like AAMFT Hawaii. And just one line, she said something about, we've taken HIAMFT to the next level. And I didn't understand what she meant by that. And I don't know that I still understand it yet, but I think there is something that we've done together as a group of MFTs to elevate, maybe it's awareness, interconnectedness with all these other organizations now.
Mhm.
And something that we've been talking about in earnest lately is how to move people from being students to post-degree and into licensure, which is where you are, your post-degree pre-licensure.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
just love to open it up for you to share anything that occurs to you about that process.
hmm Yeah, absolutely. It's been about 7 months since I graduated from NCU, and it is. I think in this time span, I thought that there was going to be this like magical transition. Things are going to like flutter and change, and it's like, well, it's kind of the same as being a student in an intern position, but now it's like more real. I can talk about it in a way that I can, share that I have done this work and the academics, and now I can go into like practice. And now I think that's where I am, is like this real practice. Like, how can I expand my knowledge? How can I expand my awareness even more? And I've gotten into different continuing education work, and just continuing to hone my skills as a practitioner, and what I want my practice to look like, what I want to offer to individuals and couples and families. And yeah, it's been cool. It's been cool to experiment and play, and um, I'm loving it. And I also see that there's such a need for connection with one another. Like, just like you're talking about, that interconnectedness, it is invaluable. It is so important. And I think, looking back, I don't know how I would have done this without HIAMFT. I'm saying that not as like a promo or a plug, but just really honest. Like, this is so important to our work as clinicians, to be able to connect with one another. Um, I think referrals have been a big part of my work. And so if I didn't have a connection with other MFTs, how would I continue my practice? How would I start my practice? So it's been amazing to be connected in this community of HIAMFT.
Yeah, that is amazing feedback.
Hmm.
Because it occurs to me that you are one of the new generations of MFTs that is being raised, if you will, during this pandemic time where everything went telehealth very quickly.
Yeah.
And I know that you've gotten a lot of your experience via telehealth. It's not your only form of experience, but a lot of it, right?
Primarily, yeah. All of my student internship time was all via telehealth, because it was right at during the pandemic. And now, yeah, just slowly starting to open up to more in-person options.
Sure.
Um,
But
yeah,
telehealth ain't going away, right? It's
no,
here to stay now.
it's I wouldn't be able to do my practice without telehealth, because of so much of the ups and downs. And then, we don't know if it's going to shut down. We don't know if we're going to be able to see each other. People, it's just so convenient too. And people need that. So telehealth is a big piece of my practice. Absolutely.
And
Mhm.
so going back to this networking piece that you've done with HIAMFT, using the internet has been a huge part of that. Attending our online board meetings, attending our online conventions, um, legislative meetings that we've had with HPA and NASW. You've been a part of those. So
Mhm.
you've done a lot of networking using these online mediums.
Yeah,
And you're saying it was helpful.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Online, uh, it's the present, it's the future, right? We're in this place where online is the way that we can connect so well with one another. And all of us are on different islands, except Danny right now is visiting Maui, but we all live on different islands, and we all, as a community of practitioners, not just MFTs, but psychologists and social workers, we can all connect with each other via the internet. Like, this
Right.
online space is very
Yeah,
helpful, especially when we're so isolated, right? Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, it's been huge. It's been huge, especially here in Hawaii with our distances, like you were saying. And not to leave out the mental health counselors, by the way. I know,
Yes.
initially it was just NASW, Hawaii, and HPA, but LMHCs, once you get your um, stuff ready to go, just let us know. We're happy to bring you into the fold
Mhm.
because it's all boats rise here, right? We are one big mental health family trying our best to help, and so there's no need to be divisive amongst ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. This is, yeah, it's a great way to connect with one another. And I really love learning about, I think it's in terms of the networking too, is like you mentioned, the convention, and just learning from other practitioners of what they're doing and how they're running their practice, or how others are seeing couples. Like, cool, what kind of ideas do you have about when this couple situation comes up? Because I don't know what to do with these two over here. So let's collaborate. And that's how also we become the best practitioners we can be, is by kind of figuring out some new ideas.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense to me.
Yeah,
Diversity
absolutely.
is the key.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, so, Christy, you have this amazing skill set of being able to work with the deaf and hard of hearing community.
Hmm.
I would love to hear a little bit about how that's going for you. Any updates or anything? Because I had a student, a supervisee, who's in graduate school, ask me about this during a case consultation recently. I think I mentioned it to you.
That's right.
I
Uh-huh.
referenced you. I said, "Oh, well, I happen to know this MFT who specializes in this. Let me get you her contact information."
That's amazing. Yes. Yeah, it's an area that has been near and dear to my heart for a very long time. I have my first master's is in marriage and family, or in deaf education, and then the second master's is in marriage and family therapy. So the deaf education realm is a place where a, you know 90% of parents, 90% of kids who are deaf are born to hearing parents. So it's like this shock for these families to have a child with this hearing loss where they cannot communicate with them. Many of them don't know sign language. Obviously, the parents never learned sign language. They didn't know they had to, they didn't know they needed it. So this stage of like shock and grief and confusion comes up. And so as a teacher, as an educator, I felt at a loss for how I could really support the families, because here I am, just I know what to do with your child, but then how do I connect with you to help you learn how to support your child? And that was a big part in like early intervention with babies who were newly identified with hearing loss. And so coming into this field of marriage and family therapy and understanding this systems and this family unit, and how it all is so intertwined, and that we want to be able to incorporate not just the parents with the child, but the siblings with the child, and the aunties and uncles and grandpas and grandmas, and bring them all in and say, this child needs all of us to hold them. How can we all hold them the best? And how can I hold you and you hold each other? And we just support this baby to learn the language and be successful in life. And yeah, that's what this work has taught me. And I have incorporated it in much of my work. I've now, collaborated and connected with colleagues in the deaf education field. And I've been supporting colleagues a lot too in helping them to um, support families. So it's all, it's all in waves and it all ripples out. And so soon in November, I'm actually supporting a group that's finally bringing some intensive conference type work for families for a weekend. And I'm doing a family group support for 5 sessions through that time. And so I'll be supporting 12 families all together in this group family support type
Oh,
scenario. Yeah.
that
Mhm.
sounds amazing.
Yeah, it is. It is so cool.
Multi-family group therapy, is that
Hmm.
like that? Yeah.
Hmm. Yep. All families with children who are deaf or hard of hearing,
Wow.
all in Hawaii, all local, all families who have, this, the need and the want to learn more about how to help their child who is deaf or hard of hearing, who uses cochlear implants or hearing aids, and then support them in that space.
That sounds incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm super excited about it. Hmm.
Please let us know if there's any way we can help promote that or share that information with people, if that would be helpful.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. Yeah. I'll share the link for the website for that in the comments here so that we can get
Awesome.
more word out to help support families in that.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. And what's also remarkable about this is just listening to your story. And I'm thinking about you as I knew you when you were a student. Now I know you as a post grad, and I knew you came in with this skill set. You had this other degree and this other training. And I'm thinking of people like Danni here, who I know has an MBA and has this other amazing skill set that she's bringing in to this process. And I'm wondering, I'd love to hear the two of you dialogue a little bit about one, how have you found you've been able to merge these identities of your pre-MFT stuff and now your current MFT stuff? And then
Mhm.
Danni, if you have any questions for Christy, who's a little bit ahead of you in the process, I'd love to open that up.
Thanks, John. Yeah. Yeah. Do you have any specific questions first, Danny? Do you want to start there and then I can share?
No, I mean, I'm a year behind you. I don't graduate until next June. So, of course, I'm curious, what happens after we graduate? What do we do during that 2-year waiting period before we can test for our license?
Yeah. So here in Hawaii, every state is different with the qualifications for licensure. And I think in Hawaii, we actually have the option to take the test right away if we want to, but we can wait before. No, that's not okay. I was thinking we could, but
We're gonna try
yeah,
to change that.
you were what?
We're gonna try to change that.
Yeah, okay. That's what I was thinking. Okay. So yeah, for no more than 2 years, right? I'm going to be working on adding up my hours. I think it's 1,000 hours, and
Mhm.
yeah, no less than
No less than two
no
years, right?
less than 2 years. Thank you. So I have to take at least 2 years to get that. Um, and then all my supervision hours, which is 50 hours, I think. So yeah,
Uh,
um
it's actually 200 hours.
200. Man, look at me. I'm just like all these hours. I'm just like, I'm just gonna get the hours. What I
But
have in my mind is,
are you,
yeah,
you're talking about post licensure, right? I mean, post
post grad, right?
post grad.
Post
Yeah.
grad towards licensure,
Yeah.
right? So I was, yeah,
200. Yeah.
student MFT is 1,050 hours for a therapy for supervision. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so post grad, I'm yeah building up my hours, getting supervision, continuing the practice. I was really excited for the continuing education part where I could start to like look at other certifications, like any other information I wanted to do. So I'm doing an EFT tapping certification right now to incorporate tapping in therapy. And Yeah, and then this time is really about setting up the business, whatever that looks like, whether it's like a personal private practice or it is a practice like getting in on another clinic or some sort of setting. Like it depends on, I think, the big interest, right? And where your passions lie. And I've sort of done a hybrid where I'm like contracting with companies and clients, and then I'm also having my own private practice. So it's like, yeah, it's been like I said, just exploring and experimenting with what kind of works, what works best in terms of getting the hours. So there's like the logistics of all those hours that we just talked about. And then there's the practicing and making it be what I want it to be. And I think to your point, John, about molding the two, right? So bringing in, Danni, I know you have so much wealth of knowledge in terms of like structure and organization and business, and you bringing that in as you go into MFT is just going to be so fun. Like you're going to like see how you can transition into what you want it to be as yourself as a clinician and who you want to serve. And I think that's the biggest piece, is like finding who your ideal person is, who your ideal people are that you want to serve and work with, and how you can best serve and help them and provide that connection. Yeah. Yeah. Do you have an idea, Danni? I'm curious. And I know we only have a few more minutes, but tell me what kind
I have
of.
a lot of ideas. I have a lot of ideas right now. I'm just juggling them in my head and networking with people. You know, I really want to work with the Asian community to help address trauma. We all have a lot of trauma that has not been addressed, especially people from my culture, people affected by the Vietnam War. And we're still not an open culture, accepting and talking about things. So I'm hoping to break that barrier, starting with people in my age group, because we can make a difference with our younger generations. I think the older generation, we kind of have to accept the fact that they feel like they're okay. And we just, it's very difficult to work with them. But anyways, I also have this passion for nonprofits. My dream is to have a mental health and wellness center for the houseless. Even if I start off with a mobile shower, you know, somebody can take a shower, come and go as they need to, while I provide some therapy in the process, and maybe have like a massage therapy inside the truck as well. And these are things that I'm starting small, so before I get like the building, I guess it depends on what happens my way. I'm not going to be too disappointed if something doesn't go one way, because things change all the time. So structurally, you know, it always starts with finances and what's available and resources. Who can I network with? Who is willing to collaborate with me?
Back to the collaboration and connection and networking. Yeah. So important. Yeah, I love that. So you cut out just a little bit, but I think what we got, like in the beginning there, you were talking about trauma and wanting to really support the nonprofit realm and build this that practice that you're talking about of just how you can serve like the unsheltered and homeless populations. And yeah, that's so cool. And the thing that I've learned too in myself is there are going to be lots of ideas. There are going to be a lot of thoughts of how it can look, who you want to work with. And it's totally cool that you're in that place, like be in that place. Like that's okay. You don't have to figure it out right now at all. I think what I am starting to learn though, is like now honing in on exactly what I want my practice to look like and how I want to serve. So I'm not so spread and doing all the things, but how can I like narrow it in and be connected, and how do I want to feel as a clinician, as a practitioner, to support the people that I know that I can serve the best, right? Yeah.
I'd like to, given that we've got just about 4 minutes left, capitalize on having you both here because of your status in working towards full licensure. You are exactly the folks that I've been thinking about when we've been doing some of our lobbying efforts as of late to get an associate level license, um, to allow for you to bill for services under a supervisor's license um, in private practice, in agencies, anywhere that you might work. Can you just speak a little bit to the challenges that you've encountered in terms of getting hours, earning a living, etc., as students pre-grad and post-grad?
Oh boy. Yeah, it's very challenging. Some, I think in the mental health has shifted a lot in the last 3 years with the pandemic, but the stigma around mental health and the idea of how to pay for it and where clients can how clients can even pay for it is it gets messy. It gets really tricky to help clients who need it, who can't maybe afford it, or who don't have insurance, or I can't accept their insurance because I'm a student or a postgraduate student. And it's very challenging. It's very challenging. I wish I could help more and I wish I could serve more. But it's just like weighing and balancing my need as a person to make the income I need to survive, and then also support people, whether it is through, some sort of cash pay or sliding scale or however that needs to look in order to get them the services they need, or try to refer them to somebody who can support them, but all the while like trying to manage my own income. For sure, it's very tricky.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Tricky. That's the word.
Yeah, so I appreciate the attempts that we've had over the last few months in the legislation. I really appreciate that was made into motion, and I have hope for next legislative session. Yeah, there's been great movement on it.
Yeah, me too. Danny, any thoughts? I'm not sure if you're in a place right now to share. Looks like you're kind of bouncing around there.
Mhm. I think my audio keeps cutting in and out. I'm actually in Maui right now.
Right. This is a good example of why we need
Yeah,
telephonic only telehealth. Sit right
Yes.
here.
exactly.
True.
Oh, goodness. Danny, what about you? Now, I know you haven't gotten into the practice part of your training yet. What
Yes.
have you seen or heard, though, from fellow students or people like Christy about the process of getting licensed and trying to earn a living?
Well, it's challenging, obviously. The associate licensing would definitely be beneficial. I don't understand why Hawaii isn't recognizing that. Maybe because this is the first time they've heard about it, but I think it's absolutely critical. We could keep the locals here, give them the opportunities instead of them shipping off to a state where they will or it can become associates and get paid. So I think it's a hurdle, but we can take another swing at it next year.
Nice.
I'm ready.
Yeah. Hurdles and swinging. I like it. Sounds very active. I'll be sure to limber up. Uh, well, I'll just say from my own experience going through the licensure process from student to postgrad to license, I did my hours in Minnesota that does have an associate level license. And so I was able to graduate, get my associate license, and bill under my supervisor's credential in a group private practice setting that allowed me to get some incredible experience as a family therapist, doing lots of couples and family work. And it really was the thing that I just can't imagine someone not having that opportunity and having to do their training in something that's not related, like case management or substance abuse or working in the prison system. Um, I can't imagine that. So let's yeah, just making a shameless plug here for everyone watching this. If you agree that people like Christy and Danni should have the opportunity to take their entire cache of expertise and practice with couples and families and individuals um, doing therapy, then get on board with the associate level license when we start talking about that again next year during the legislative session.
Yeah. Yes, please.
Yes, please.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
So on that note, we're going to wrap up for today. Christy Chadwick, MFT intern extraordinaire.
Woohoo.
Thank you so much for sharing some time with us today.
Yeah. Thanks for inviting me in. Appreciate it.
Yes, you're so welcome. And Danni, thank you for having the most Hawaii themed backdrop and attire that we've ever had on this show. The epitome of the island. Thank you.
You're welcome. That's
All right,
right.
everyone. Well, look for that link to Christy's multi-family group experience that she's going to be doing, and we will see you next week at the same time. Aloha and mahalo.
Aloha.